What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing a Valentine's Day theme team in the Championship Series Cup with Spinder in the lead, which by the way, I actually clickbaited you guys because I'm not using a heart pattern Spinder because I've already built a different pattern, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not made of Stardust, and actually I have no Stardust at all, so please send some my way. But we've also got the heart trim Furfrou, which is actually in the right trim this time around, so just the one clickbait for this video. And then to round things out, I thought about having some sort of flower Pokemon, but there really aren't many options in the EUIC meta, so instead I'm running Teddy Ursa, the teddy bear Pokemon, which you might get for your loved one for Valentine's Day. Anyways, I'm running some questionable fast move choices. Firstly, Psycho Cut over Sucker Punch on Spinder, because honestly, most Pokemon in the EUIC Cup get to their charge moves in around 9 or 10 turns, so you really want at least one Pokemon that's able to somewhat compete with that. So I've opted for the much faster energy generation. And then for Teddy Ursa, kind of the opposite. Usually you'd run Lick, but most Pokemon in this meta are super bulky normal type Pokemon where Lick is double resisted, so instead I'm running Scratch, which might be a move you've never seen used outside of battling against Giovanni's Persian, but from those Team Rocket battles you'll know it's a very hard hitting move. It just generates energy super slowly. I believe it's a clone of Bite, which is also a move you don't really see an awful lot these days. But yeah, Teddy Ursa was definitely the worst Pokemon on this team, but I did still manage to get some very nice wins. So with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. Which Pokemon that is currently completely useless, like Teddy Ursa, would you like to see buffed next season? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so go into the first battle, and we are starting things late as we lead into Dragalge. Honestly, I don't have a clue how many fast moves they've thrown here because we did come into the battle ever so slightly late there. Also, by the way, I have already been credited with a loss for this battle, despite the fact that the battle hasn't actually been carried out yet because it kicked me initially, gave me the instant loss, and now the battle kind of doesn't really matter. Obviously, this is an interlude season. I don't really care that much, but hopefully this isn't a bug that persists through to next season. Otherwise, that will be very disappointing. But anyways, we're going to come in with the Furfrou here. Spinder putting some decent work up against the Dragalge and the Licky Tongue. So sorry, the Licky here. They full send the Earthquake, but they are debuffed, so it doesn't deal too much damage. And now I'm going to look to overfarm and fire off the Surf. Surf is going to connect. It gets the KO, and they actually come in with Frost Slash, which is huge for me because Teddy Ursa usually would be pretty good with Lick, but with Scratch, Swift, and Cross Chop, it is completely walled. So now I'm going to shield. I expect the opponent's going to swap out straight away, try and snipe with Dragalge. They actually don't, but they swap out in the end anyways. I think at this point we just sacrifice Teddy Ursa. It's a pretty useless Pokemon. I recognize my win condition is Furfrou, Sucker Punch farming down the remainder of the team. So Aquatail gets the KO there. We come in, we Sucker Punch farm them down. We Sucker Punch farm down the Frost Slash, living with just a few HP. And as I mentioned, despite the fact that we did win here, we actually didn't get credited with a win at all. So that is quite disappointing, but GG's to that trainer. Into the next battle, you're going to see Dunsparce in the lead. So at this point, the opponent's going to swap out there, which is huge for me because now I can go for Icy Wind. I'm so far ahead on energy that actually I can reach a second Icy Wind before they even reach an Aquatail. This second one should be grabbing a shield here, and now they're double debuffed as well. So even if they full send a Draco Meteor, which could potentially happen here, they don't end up doing it in the end anyways, but that's okay. I'm now just going to no shield again, and now I'm going to bank all of this energy and swap into my Furfrou. The opponent's still staying in here. Of course, I've given them the opportunity to clear the debuffs, swap out into another Pokemon, but instead they fire off the charge move and allow a full Sucker Punch farm down. They come back in with the Dunsparce, and I'm going straight for Surf. Grassnot is going to do slightly more damage here, but I will need 2 charge moves plus the Sucker Punch damage to get the KO anyways. The opponent full sends the Drill Run there, and now I'm going to go for another Surf. Surf shouldn't quite get the KO here, and actually it will allow the opponent to farm me down rather than the other way round, but the opponent's going to swap out into Charge Bug, and they're on Bug Bite as the fast move. You can see these scratches are shredding through their HP. Honestly, that is quite surprising to see. But I'm going to swap out now. I bank a Swift, hoping that will KO later. We go for Octoon. We debuff their attack stat. They're able to farm me down, but we've got the Swift locked and loaded, ready to throw into the Charger Bug. Swift doesn't KO, but one more Scratch gets the farm down. We can Scratch, farm down the Dunsparce as well, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see a Malamar in the lead. So this is quite a tricky matchup for me. I'm actually going to stay in here just because I can go straight for an Icy Wind. It's quite unlikely that they go straight for a superpower and then dip. So we're able to connect there, debuff their attack stat, and that should allow me to live a superpower here. So I'm going to no-shield this, and I'm able to tank it, and I'm going to go straight for a second Icy Wind. The opponent does actually make quite a nice catch there, catching onto Licky Licky. So I'm going to come in with my Teddy Ursa. The opponent has farmed up a decent amount of energy, but not enough for the earthquake. So I'm going to no shield, just the body slam, and I can just barely outpace them to the cross chop. Cross chop is going to be no shielded. It gets the KO there. They come back in with the Malamar, and the opponent not committing to a full farm down. I'm going to no shield this. Foul play is enough to get the KO from that range. We can now come in with the fur through, and the opponent is going to throw. I'm hoping I can go for a full sucker punch farm down here, and they go for superpower, but no, just barely not able to get that full farm down. So I'm forced to double shield. They come in with a Shadow Tyranitar, and unless I'm able to make a really nice catch of a Stone Edge, I don't really have much of a chance here. I'm going to go for back-to-back Surf Sit. Of course, the opponent still has both their shields, so they're going to use both of them on the Shadow Tyranitar, and I'm actually able to make the catch, but at this point, I'm in range where they could probably just go for Brutal Swing, and they do exactly that. So they farm up to very close to back-to-back Brutal Swings. First one takes out the Spender, second one takes out the Fur Through, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see Shadow Dragonair in the lead. So they will actually outpace me here to a Body Slam or an Aqua Tail. If they're running something like a Dragon Pulse, then they might look to overfarm here. We go for Icy Wind, and the opponent has farmed up a ton of energy. So I'm going to shield. I know I've debuffed them, but the opponent does full send the Dragon Pulse. We now swap out straight away, as I wasn't going to be able to fully Psycho Cut farm them down from that range, but they actually swap into a Furret, which isn't ideal for me because I am down a shield. So kind of forced a no shield there, and Brick Break, of course, debuffs my defense. It's also super effective, so it does allow them to fully farm me down. The opponent comes out with quite a lot of energy there, but I'm able to go for a Rock Tomb here before they throw. So Rock Tomb is going to be shielded by the opponent, and now the opponent will throw a Charge Move in return. The opponent going to go for a Trailblaze there, which is quite surprising since Brick Break will be super effective. It is also less energy than the Trailblaze, but now they boosted up their attack stat once again. I'm committing to a farm down, and I'm able to get that scratch farm down. Huge for me. Their final Pokemon is Dragalge. They try to catch a Charge Move, but we don't throw straight away. However, we are so slow to the Charge Moves here. We go for Swift. Swift connects. It does decent damage. The opponent committing to the farm down, but Teddy Ursa, super slow, but just barely getting to a second Swift, taking out Dragalge, living on 1 HP and a Dream, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see a Shadow Frostlass in the lead. They swap out straight away. They're probably expecting me to be on Sucker Punch. I'm actually not on Sucker Punch, so it would have been a fairly neutral matchup. However, Obstagoon is a huge problem for me. So I'm going to go straight for an Icy Wind there, debuffing them before they can get off their first charge move. I'm hoping by the time I get to a second Icy Wind, I can actually just come in with my Teddy Ursa and fully scratch farm them down. Now here, make a huge mistake. I actually came in with the Fur Through. I just misclicked. I forgot which side they were on there. This is one of the earlier battles, but now I'm going to go for the scratch farm down, but I am now switch locked here, which is not ideal because what I would have liked to do really is come in with the Teddy Ursa, fire off a Swift, and then swap into my Fur Through. Otherwise now, unfortunately, I'm allowing a huge Volt Switch farm down. They come out with back-to-back X's as already loaded, and so I'm going to have to no-shield one of these charge moves, so I no-shield the first one. The opponent is now going to be 2 more Volt Switches away from another charge move. However, they likely swap back into Frostlass. Now here I make another mistake. I probably should have just thrown a charge move. Instead, I'm trying to commit to a farm down, but actually, I recognize I'm not even going to get the full farm down anyways. And so at this point, they can Powder Snow farm me down, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. So several mistakes there ended up costing me that game, but GG's to that trainer. Into the next battle, we're going to see a shiny Shadow Venomoth, one of my favorite shiny Shadow Pokemon in the game. We're going to go for an Icy Wind here, baiting, and they actually catch it onto Licky Licky. So once again, really nice catch from the opponent there, but again, it's quite nice that we're able to debuff this bulky Pokemon's attack stat because already they don't hit that hard, whereas now, you can see I would just barely tank 2 Earthquakes. The opponent actually not farming up to a second Earthquake, instead going for the Body Slam, and I'm hoping I put them into range where a Surf will KO. So we're going to go for Surf here. Surf is going to be enough damage to get the knockout, and they come back in with the Shadow Venomoth. Going straight for Surf. Surf going to connect. It does big damage there, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Kingdra. I'm just going to spam out these Icy Winds as I should be able to reach another one here before the opponent ends up throwing a charge move or commits to a full Dragon Breath farm down. And actually, that Dragon Breath farm down is going to be very tricky for them now as they are double debuffed, so they're forced to throw some energy. The opponent goes for the Swift. Swift gets the KO from that range. We come in with the Teddy Ursa, and the opponent is going to swap out there, clearing the debuff. Smart play on their end, but the opponent does not go for a Poison Fang, instead going for Silver Wind, which is quite surprising there. I don't really understand that play at all. Whereas now I'm going to shield, and they full sent the Outrage. That was their win condition. They don't reach a Swift and the Outrage, and so I'm able to shield that up there, go for the Scratch farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there, into the next battle. I'm going to see Charge Bug in the lead. So, we are going to get to the Rock Tomb at the same pacing as their first charge move. However, I don't want to throw straight away just in case they opt for an extra Volt Switch, as that will give them, of course, an extra full fast move in for free. And as a 4-turn fast move, that could be quite devastating. Here, I'm going to swap out Catch the next move onto my Furfrou as they fire off the X's, but they're going to have another Obstagoon in the back. And once again, really tricky Pokemon for me to deal with. I'm going to go straight for Surf. Surf is going to be no shielded, and it's actually a CMP tie. Now, I don't know if this matchup is maybe IV dependent. You can see my Furfrou IVs are absolutely diabolical. I don't have a clue why I've built this one, but either way, it does get to 1500 CP, so I guess it's quite an attack-weighted Pokemon. Either way, we're going to come in, go for the Rock Tomb here. I'm hoping this puts them into Scratch farm down range, and it does exactly that. But their final Pokemon is going to be Spiritomb. There is literally nothing we can do with Teddy Ursa on this moveset, and so I instantly concede the match. But GG's up on there, into the next battle, we're going to see a Goodra in the lead. So the opponent is going to throw straight away, allowing them to outpace me by a single turn. It means they can go for the Aqua Tail before we get off the debuff with the Icy Wind. Going to go for the Icy Wind here. Icy Wind is going to be able to two-shot them, and because I debuff their attack stat, they will not get the KO from this range. So at this point, I'm going to no-shield this. I'm actually going to go for a Rock Tomb just in case the opponent tries to make a catch here, which I thought was going to be quite likely. A Rock Tomb, of course, is going to do more neutral damage in most situations. So at this point, we're going to come in with the Furfrou. Unfortunately, of course, they are going to be on Double Kick. Double Kick is super effective damage, while Sucker Punch not generating as much energy and is also only neutral here. But we go for the Surf. Surf doesn't really deal that much damage. Maybe I should have gone for Grass Knot, but because we went for the Surf there, I'm actually inclined to shield and then throw another charge move. We go for Surf number 2. I didn't expect them to shield this, so I didn't throw on the best timing, but because I didn't throw on the best timing, they get the full farm down. I'm going to come in with the Spinda. I'm going to no-shield this. The opponent full sends a Wild Charge. We can get the Scratch farm down with Teddy Ursa, and the final Pokemon is going to be a Dunsparce. So at this point, I'm going to shield the first charge move here, as of course, they are going to go for a Drill Run. The opponent is going to look to overfarm in this matchup, and they come in with the Goodra, but they reach another charge move, and that, unfortunately, is going to be game over for me, because Teddy Ursa, whilst yes, these scratches are adding up, I'm able to reach Cross Chop on CMP. Cross Chop is super effective, but it doesn't get the KO there, and as a result, Drill Run easily takes out Teddy Ursa from that range, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up on there, into the next battle, we're going to see Drapion in the lead. So this is going to be a bad matchup for me, but we've also got Furfrou, our safe swap on Sucker Punch, which is also resisted. So I might as well just stay in, go for these debuffs immediately here. And because we've gone for an Icy Wind, I can actually now just tank the next charge move very comfortably. They actually bait with an Aqua Tail, which is absolutely fine with me. I'm going to no-shield the next charge move here, as Depot is now going to go for Crunch, which we're still able to tank pretty comfortably. I'm now going for Rock Tomb, as they have outpaced me to that second charge move, and now I'm able to snipe with the Teddy Ursa. The opponent's going to come in with a Fire Fang Pyroar, which is very spicy. I'm not really sure why you would run Fire Fang over Incinerate. I realize, of course, Fire Fang does give you a bit more opportunities in terms of when you can throw charge moves and when you can make catches and whatnot, but Fire Fang does the same damage per turn as the Incinerate does, and it just generates energy a lot slower. Either way, we're going to come in and get the full farm down, and the opponent's final Pokemon is going to be a Shiny Miltank. So I fire off the Surf there, recognizing I will need 2 charge moves to KO here, so there's no point going for Grass Knot. Grass Knot, yes, it is going to deal a little bit more damage, but it doesn't really help me here. Might as well just spam out the cheaper energy charge move. Surf is going to connect there, and of course, I'm going to use my final shield. I do have the opportunity to make a catch, however, I'm actually not going to need it, as I'm able to reach a Surf just before they get to the next Body Slam. Surf will get the KO from that range, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's opponent into the next battle. We're going to see Spinder into Grimmsnarl. So this is a really bad matchup for me. They are going to double resist the Psycho Cut damage and the Sucker Punch damage. So once again, just forced to stay in here. They go straight for Power Up Punch, which of course is going to boost up their attack stat. However, I can just debuff them immediately with the Icy Wind. The opponent is going to go straight for another Charge Move. Again, fine with me. We should be able to tank this as we've debuffed them. They now boost up their attack stat. And again, we're going to debuff them here with the Icy Wind. So Icy Wind, it's going to grab both shields, which is really surprising to me. I don't know why they're double shielding Grimmsnarl, because they're not actually boosted yet. Now they will actually boost up their attack stat with the Power Up Punch. That honestly did quite a lot of damage against the Teddy Ursa, but we're going to go for Swift. Swift gets the KO there. I am switch locked now, so unfortunately they will get quite a nice farm down with the Furret. And of course they could be on Brick Break. They very likely are on Brick Break for this meta, so I'm actually going to shield the first charge move here, as the boat is going to go for the Brick Break. I realized if I no shield that, they can probably just come in and fast move farm me down with their remaining Pokemon. It's going to be a rollout Dunsparce, so maybe not the case here, but either way, I thought I might as well just play it safe there. Again, I'm going to need 2 Surfs to get the KO up against the Dunsparce, so I do just go for the Surfs rather than going for Grass Knot. Here, I'm able to make the catch. I don't know if that was necessarily the right play, because now I'm still not going to be able to go for a full farm down, so I'm forced to throw energy anyways. And yeah, I don't know. I could have maybe swapped out and caught a charge move up against the Furret instead. But either way, we're going to go for Grass Knot. Grass Knot does more damage than the Surf, but it's still not enough damage to get the KO there. And of course, from this range, even a Swift takes out the Furfrou. And unfortunately, I do lose that game. So, GG's opponent into the next battle. We're going to see a Sea King in the lead. So, battle of the debuffers. Of course, I can reach Icy Wind slightly faster than they do, but Icy Wind is resisted here. So, I'm going to full send a Rock Tomb. Unfortunately, I lose CMP in this matchup, but we can go for the Rock Tomb, debuff their attack stat right away. Of course, I'm debuffed there, so that Rock Tomb doesn't quite do half their HP. However, I've now debuffed them, so I should still be able to live this. So, I'm going to no shield. Icy Wind does get me very low. However, we can get to the Rock Tomb. And you know what? I'm actually just going to come in straight away with the Furfrou, commit to the farm down, and we get the perfect farm down. They're now going to come in with a Licky Licky. Fine with me. We can go for Surf. Once again, just going for that cheaper move. And by the way, even though I think Grass Knot's probably recommended in this meta, maybe I would recommend Dark Pulse as a secondary charge move for Furfrou if you are planning on running it, just because you then have a neutral move up against likes of Dragalge and Dragonair, which are quite problematic for me in certain battles in this video, which we will see later on. Either way, we're going to go for a Surf hit up against a Litleo coming in. This time they are going to be on Incinerate. I mean, it was a Pyro previously. But either way, Incinerate, a much better fast move than the Fire Fang damage there, dealing the same amount of damage, but of course generating energy a lot faster. I'm going to no-shield this as they go for Flame Charge, but can we deal enough damage with the scratches here from Teddy Ursa? Gonna shield again as they go for another Flame Charge, and it's going to be close, but Teddy Ursa just barely getting that scratch farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's opponent into the next battle. We're going to see Ariados in the lead. So, this is going to be probably a slightly positive matchup for me, as the opponent is going to be weak to Rock Tomb. However, they are going to debuff me straight away, and I believe we probably lose CMP in this matchup. I actually don't really know that. Either way, we commit to the Rock Tomb, which now, because we're debuffed, doesn't quite put them into Psycho Cut farm down range. However, because they're debuffed, they don't KO there either. They actually go for Trailblaze, which is quite surprising. We can come in with the Teddy Ursa, commit to the farm down, and they're going to come in with a Dragalge. Now, I recognize this is obviously just an Octa. However, I realize if I no-shield that, and then they shield my next charge move, they can likely commit to a huge Dragontail farm down, which I don't really want. So instead, I'm going to shield. Now at this point, I'm happy to let this move go through. It probably still won't quite get the KO. So now we're going to come in with the Spinder, and I'm going to go for an Icy Wind snipe. Icy Wind is going to be shielded. They then swap out, clear the debuff, and they come in with their Dunsparce. I'm now going to come in with the Furfrou, and once again, we've played this matchup several times. Going to go for back-to-back Surfs here. We do still have a shield in play. However, I think this might be one of the matches that I was mentioning where, of course, okay, never mind. We're going to play this out slightly differently here. We're going to go for Grass Knot, hoping this will put them into Sucker Punch farm down range if I'm able to make a catch onto my Teddy Ursa. So we are going to commit to the swap there at the last second. We're able to make the catch. However, I don't know if that really helps me because we've only got resisted charge boost to throw. If we had Dark Pulse very likely puts them into Sucker Punch farm down range. But unfortunately for me, because we don't, we end up getting outpaced. Aquatail gets the KO there. And unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG to opponent into the next battle. We're going to see Center Scorch in the lead. So, again, another pretty good matchup for me. Rock Tomb is going to easily one-shot them as it's double super effective, but they can go for a lunge straight away. I'm then going to... Well, I tried to wait a turn there, which I did do, but all that means is that the opponent actually gets a fast move in as they swap out there. So that was really not ideal for me. The point in waiting a turn is to make sure they don't make a catch. However, I then threw the charge move anyway, so that was completely pointless and actually just set me back loads there. So really nice play on the opponent's end, just really poor on my end. Either way, I'm going to go for Surf, hoping this does put them into Sucker Punch farm down range. They should be one away from the next move, and we do get that full farm down. And of course, we do have Surf for the Center Scorch, so the opponent actually comes in with their final Pokemon, which is going to be a Vigoroth. Vigoroth, very problematic for me, and they likely have Brick Break in this meta because of all the normal type Pokemon in the meta. So unfortunately, they're going to debuff me, dealing huge damage with the counters. I can reach the charge. I think Swift probably KOs from this range anyways. It's going to grab a shield there, so just in case they try to catch it onto Center Scorch, I feel like that was the right play. Here they come back in with the Center Scorch, and that does give me a slither of hope here. I'm going to overfarm. I can't overfarm too much. I assume we probably lose CMP here in this matchup. So Rock Tomb gets the KO. They come back in with the Vigoroth, and they actually allow me to reach another Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb gets them low to the range, but actually a single scratch gets the snipe. They had the energy for a charge move, but they don't get it off in time, and as a result, I'm able to take that game. Into the next battle, we're going to see Ariados in the lead. So once again, fairly good matchup for me here, as we are going to hit for super effective damage with both the Psycho Cuts as well as the Rock Tombs. They fire off the lunge there. I wait, and this time they don't make a catch, so I can just go straight for the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb does big damage. Again, it doesn't quite get the KO here. However, I do know I can live this next charge move. So lunge gets me very low. I'm going to bank the Icy Wind, swap into Furfrou, and get the Sucker Punch farm down. They're going to come in with a Drapion, which isn't really ideal for me because we do have Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch is resisted. However, we are ahead on energy. We can fire off the Surf, and we actually end up grabbing a shield. I'm going to no-shield this. Crunch does decent damage there. It does not debuff me. And now I try to throw on CMP again. This time around, the opponent does not throw straight away. Surf is going to connect. And the opponent, they could probably commit to the full farm down, but they don't. They panic. They end up throwing some energy. That is huge for me. I'm now going to come in with the Spinda. I'm going to fire off the Icy Wind. I'm hoping that 2 shields and Teddy Ursa can win me this game. But they're going to have a Malamar in the back. And they are so spammy. But also, these side waves are actually kind of chunking us. I'm going to shield the foul play. We are going to see if we can make back-to-back charge moves before they get to 3 charge moves, but I actually don't think that's going to be the case. I'm going to shield the next foul play here. I'm going to need to make a catch. You can see my switch clock is coming up here. It's going to be super close. We go for Swift. We are going to try and make the catch, but I think I tapped on the switch button there like a split second too late, and as a result, we don't make the catch. They sideway farm me down, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG top in there, and into one final bonus battle. This was actually the first battle I did where I was running, well, first of all, Furfrou in the lead, but also Teddy Ursa was on Lick. We had a few pretty rough battles, in which case I ended up swapping out for Scratch in the end. But for this battle, Lick was actually pretty handy for me. So I'm going to swap out into Spinda here. I'm going to go straight for Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb is going to do more raw damage in this matchup. And now they're going to come in with a Shadow Kingdra. Now, they do unfortunately outpace me here, but I think they might have thrown on alignment, giving me an extra, an extra Psycho Cut in for free. We can go for Icy Wind. Icy Wind gonna debuff their attack stat, and I'm actually able to reach another Icy Wind. I don't know if they just lost track of my energy there, but either way, Icy Wind is gonna get them very low. They throw at the last possible second, however, giving me as minimal farm as possible, which is a very smart play, but they have a Frost Slash in the back, and on Scratch, this would have been an awful matchup, but actually with Lick, it's not that bad. Now, of course, I still only got resisted charge moves to throw. They don't know that, however. It could be on Crunch, could be on Trailblaze. So we grab a shield, and now we swap into Furfrou. Furfrou gonna fire off the Surf here. Surf is gonna grab the final shield. We reach another Surf, but what I don't want to do is give Licky Licky any extra farm, so I actually go for the undercharge. The opponent is gonna throw here. The opponent can now actually swap back into Licky Licky, which they're gonna do. However, Teddy Ursa can tank a Body Slam fairly comfortably. The opponent goes for Body Slam there. We can go straight for Cross Chop. I'm not allowing any more fast move pressure at all. Cross Chop gets the KO, and I can just Lick, farm down the Frost Slash, and I'm able to Lick, farm down the Kingdra as well to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.